Hi, this is Akshay Sura from Konobos. Today we'll be talking about why Sitecore OrderCloud. In our previous video, we talked about what is Sitecore OrderCloud based on the things I've read and things I've been doing. Today we'll talk about why do you even need to consider on OrderCloud. Knowing the market space at this moment in time with composable DXP in play, vendor lock is no longer valid in the sense that you could pick a provider today, implement your solution on it, and in a week, a month, a year or so, if you would like to change the provider to another provider, because of the API based nature of these providers, it's relatively simple to move over to another provider. And this gives you greater leverage as well as flexibility. So, because of this, vendors are willing to keep up with the technology, give you more options, give you a reason to stay. At the same time, for you, you don't have to be invested in it for 10, 15 years long term. And this gives power both ways, both to the vendors as well as the customer, which is you. Saying that, when we look at the current market space in terms of monolith commerce systems, you know that we are in a very rigid commerce strategy where the business needs to be flexible, agile, and be able to adapt, but we are unable to do that with the monolith commerce, and that's been acknowledged by pretty much everyone. We also have to, in this day and age, no one predicted COVID, and when COVID hit, no one knew how it was going to impact. And it impacted e-commerce in a very different way. People started staying home more, ordering more. E-commerce sites were inundated, and you know the rest, the shortages. Having a streamlined and flexible commerce strategy is super important to any organization. With any monolith, you can't grow over time. It just becomes difficult. And it's not cohesive, and the coupling between the different systems becomes extremely difficult. So this kind of makes us kind of think of it more from a composable DXP perspective, exactly what we can do. Now, when you talk about commerce and being able to scale and expand your commerce business, currently, because of the composable DXP headless commerce, you can implement different kinds of methodologies, B2B, B2C. And again, we've gone through this before where we talked about being very omni-channel. You're selling on your mobile phone, you're selling on your website, you're syndicating your products to third parties, distributor channels. You need flexibility in all of that, out-of-the-box integrations, but also the capability for you to have all of the commerce features which you have been used to in the past. So give more power to the buyers, the sales reps, the distributors, as well as your end customer. And this isn't something easy. Meeting the needs of the customers is kind of a constant challenge for any business, but that's something which we all have to strive to do. So being able to deliver to every channel, web, mobile, even your brick and mortar, social, is very important. Future-proofing your, commerce implementation is also super important because you never know when things are going to change. Today you might be B2B, tomorrow you might be B2C, and God knows what other different methods of selling will come up in the future, and being responsive enough to react to that is also super important. So thinking about it from a headless commerce, a composable platform perspective makes a lot of sense for any business. Now, a lot of things in terms of how commerce is implemented, scalability is always tricky. Predictability in terms of, hey, during Thanksgiving or Black Friday, the sales are going to go pretty high. The platform needs to scale with you to take that. But at the times when it's not so high volume, you need to scale back down. Comes back into your costs, your run rate, and the run costs. Being able to customize. So not just from the perspective of integrations, which we'll talk about in the extensibility part, but just being able to come up with different strategies, whether you're talking about discounts, benefits for your customers, just in demand, dealing with your own customers, whether they're distributors or sales partners or sales reps, being able to change your business model or adapt to the changing business model is super important. And any platform which lets you do that is the platform you need to go with. Extensibility, again, being able to add integrations with other tools, being able to modify certain parts of it, and being able to be agile. If your marketing or a business product part of the org needs a change, it should be relatively easy for you to make that change. You don't have to wait months or weeks even. To be able to react to that is super, super important. Now, coming back to the why of the OrderCloud, we talked about, what is OrderCloud in the previous video. We talked about the challenges facing currently from a monolith perspective, as well as what we need in terms of a business to implement these strategies. Now, why is OrderCloud so different? Like I mentioned, a lot of players in this space who are headless, composable commerce, a lot of them have a lot of the features that you're looking for. What your organization needs truly depends on the needs of your organization and no one else. Yes, there are a lot of commonalities with others in your sector, but you know what? At the same time, you have some unique features. The way you do business with your distributors might be different. The way you do business internally or the incentives you give might be a little bit different. Yes, there are commonalities, but the uniqueness of your business is yours. So when you're evaluating different tools, you need to look at all the different scenarios, not just for now, but also the future. A lot of the times when we've been involved in these businesses who've been around for decades, depending on how digital they want to go, how their marketing and product teams react to things, they're like, okay, we're just B2B, we're just going to do B2B. And that works because it's a proven system. But at the same time, when you look at it from a growth perspective, you don't know what's going to hit your business tomorrow or a year from now or 2 years from now. So thinking about, hey, I do want to do B2B, but maybe I want to do B2C or B2B2C, or I want to do other different permutations and combinations. You maybe want to try out a different model with your distributors or resellers, see if that works. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you always fall back on to your existing strategy. So where OrderCloud differentiates itself is depending on your unique business case, whether you're large, you're complex, it's distributed, however you position yourself in terms of B2B or B2C or B2X is the way I call it, you should be able to implement it with OrderCloud. If you set it up the right way, the products, the services, and the way the orders flow between the user all the way to you, and whether you are the supplier, if you're a manufacturer, or you have an additional supplier whose products you're also trying to upsell, everything would work. And this is where it differentiates itself. It's not just a B2B, it's not just a B2C, it is B2X. You come up with a paradigm or a methodology of how you want to set your stores up, catalogs, and sellers, and you can implement that. And that's where it differentiates itself. From a capabilities perspective, again, like I mentioned, a lot of the headless vendors do a lot of the things from a e-commerce perspective. You just have to look at it from, maybe you have specific data requirements. Where does my data live? Do I own my data? Is it in a specific region? For some organizations, it is tremendously important. So looking at it from that perspective, scalability, and all of these things which you see on the slide, I can read them off. But at the end of the day, it truly depends on where your organization is today and where does it want to go tomorrow. From a capabilities perspective, you always have to vet out everything you need currently and everything you're looking couple of years down the road. So for it being API based, headless, scalable, on the fly is super important. Basically, future proofs your business from any business need you might foresee. And most of these SaaS based services are always improving. So when an upgrade comes up, you get the upgrade. You don't have to do much, unless there's breaking changes, which are far few and not as often. It's not a big deal, and being omni-channel really helps you. You're not tied to one channel at any point in time. So when you look based on the current trends, being able to be expeditious, in terms of how fast you can push new features out. E-commerce is growing like crazy. It's only going to go higher from what I see. People, like, I buy quite a few things for myself from Amazon and other online stores, and so will your customers. And if you're a business who has been in traditional marketplaces where you have your distributor channels, reseller channels, everything is going online from an e-commerce perspective. Regardless of the type of business, you might think I'm entrenched in a business which is very handshake oriented. Yes, it's great, but there will be a segment of that business which would also be going online. So from a value perspective, it absolutely makes sense. It's super important that you start thinking about your e-commerce strategies. Headless e-commerce systems are the way to go, and give it a chance. Look at OrderCloud, look at the features it provides, see if it fits your budget, see if it fits your marketing vision, see if all the benefits you can get now and in the future, if you're looking to do it, can be taken care of by OrderCloud. If you need any help, we're more than happy to help you. Please do give us a shout on social channels or reach out to us. I hope this was really useful on figuring out why Sitecore OrderCloud is different, what gives it the differentiating factors for you to consider it. And I hope this was useful. Hope you have a wonderful day.